Good evening, everybody. I really appreciate everyone coming out. We're excited to host the 2023 Madeira City Council Candidate Forum. This was an exciting thing that kind of came to us by way of the Senior Commission 2 years ago, so we were excited to bring it back this year. For those that don't know, my name is David Peterson. I'm the Executive Director with the Madeira Chamber. Thank you again for coming tonight. Thank you to the high school for hosting us. A little better than McDonald Commons, which is under construction now, so we couldn't do it the way we did it 2 years ago. So I appreciate the schools allowing us to hop in here tonight. Also want to thank Claire Heinzler, Jerry Schneider with the Madeira Senior Commission for helping us behind the scenes get this thing off the ground. Been inviting plenty of you to be here tonight. And I do want to remind people, so the one unique thing about tonight, the Madeira High School Marching Band is performing at 8:45. So we're going to wrap this up around 8:30, and I want everyone to walk over to the high school track and enjoy an amazing performance by our Marching Mustangs. They're headed off to competition, yes. I personally am excited. My family and I were total band nerds. We went to the thing in the summer. Because of the rain, we had to be in here in the auditorium. So I'm excited to actually see the show myself. So. Most importantly, I want to introduce our candidates tonight. We're excited to have Gibson Arling, Joe Gromes, Tom Henning, Logan Younger, and Chad Schaefer with us tonight. The people who you're really here to see. I know it's not me. A little bit about just how the city council plan, for those that aren't aware of how the city council process works. So we've got 5 folks running. We've got 3 open seats this year. 2 years ago, we had 4 folks up. So we've got the 3 seats up for grabs. Mr. Henning running for re-election. Mayor Hilberg and then Scott Gehring are on their way out this year. So those are the 2 vacancies that will be filled. And they will be joining Vice Mayor Doug Mormon, Ann Horn, Alicia Camper, and Tim Brock. I know several of which are here tonight on November 7th. Election day is November 7th. Please check votehamiltoncounty.org for how to vote early, vote often, where you need to vote. I know we've got a couple polling places that are changing this year. So just if you're in a couple of those areas of town, make sure you check that out. Real quick, the event format for tonight. So what we're going to do is each candidate's going to receive up to 5 minutes to stand up here and pitch themselves to you for how and why they'd like to be a part of Madeira City Council. We're then going to enter into a Q&A period. So what we're going to do, thank you to those that have submitted questions online, much appreciated. We're basically going to go in random order. I've assigned a bunch of randomness to everything that we've done, including the order of which everyone's going to present. We'll present each question. All 5 will have up to 60 seconds to answer it, so you'll be able to hear from each of them. It is not a debate. I know some of you are like, oh, no, it's not a debate. It's not a debate. It's a forum. We're going to keep things civil. We're going to have fun tonight going forward. I'm not fact-checking their answers. I got enough to do. I am not going to be fact-checking those. If you have issues with their answers, take it up with them. And as I mentioned, those questions have been compiled ahead of time. No one but myself and my lovely wife have seen them. So yeah, completely randomness going there. So thank you again to those that have submitted the questions. A couple of other announcements up front. I know I promise I will get to them. It would not be a chamber event if I didn't promote chamber things. The holidays are coming to Madeira. Holiday kickoff next Wednesday in Madeira. A lot of our shops are going to be decked out for the holidays. They kind of skip right over Halloween and get to Christmas. So we're looking forward to that. Please look for that. Light Up Madeira will be here before we know it. And then a couple senior commission events I wanted to highlight as them being a sponsor tonight. Wednesday, November 8th, 1 p.m., Traditions Community Room. They've got a living history presentation of Mary Draper Ingalls, an American pioneer, early settler of Western West Virginia. And then November 15th, 1 p.m., Traditions Community Room, presentation by Home 52. So if you haven't checked in with what the Senior Commission is doing, a lot of awesome things, a lot of free stuff, great opportunity to get connected with them at Traditions at Camargo. Without further ado, we'll get on to our candidates. First up tonight, we have Joe Gromes.
Thank you, Dave Peterson, the Madeira City Chamber of Commerce, and the Senior Commission. Every election is important. It enables citizens to choose other citizens to represent them. Or said simply, neighbors choose other neighbors to represent them, to respond to their needs, to realize their hopes for a continued safe and prosperous future. Why am I running? Madeira has been my one and only home for 27 years in Cincinnati. When Anita and I were house hunting at this time in the fall of 1995, a colleague of mine said, "Come to Madeira. It has everything you need." We did, and it did, and we raised our family in Madeira. Now Anita and I are empty nesters, I am running for city council because I want to give back to Madeira for all it has given to my family. I have the time and the talent to give back to Madeira, to listen to each of you, to represent each of you in future council decisions, to respond to your needs, to ensure your hopes for safety and prosperity are well-founded. What qualifies me? I have been your neighbor for more than a generation. I sent my kids to our schools with you. I voted with you. I paid taxes with you. I helped when I could, just as you did in return, the neighborly, friendly way we all do in Madeira. I am an engineer. I design things. I invent things. I use math to understand things. I use the computer to simulate machines that make delightful products you and I use in our homes every day. As such, I am a geek, a numbers guy and a creative guy. I also believe in the concept of better. A design can be better. A thing or a machine or a product can be better. Madeira can also be better. It can represent better, it can respond better, it can better ensure safety and prosperity. Here are 3 issues in my platform I plan to do. They come from listening to and talking to you on the door-to-door campaign trail. Reduce tax burdens on our households. Let's work together to return the tax credit from 0.6% to 0.9%. Every dollar that stays in our household budget and is either saved for the future or spent in the economy is our best bet to beat inflation and hold back a recession. It's so important that I have a pledge here that is available for all the candidates to sign that we will not raise taxes or fees going forward. Increase public safety. Our police do an excellent job. In the spirit of better and responding to discussions with you on the campaign trail, I will work with the city manager and the police chief to explore the benefits of increased patrols through our neighborhoods. Let's collect the data, let's keep what works and stop what doesn't work. Increase local business prosperity. The comprehensive plan provides a great base. Let's work together to make it better. While phase 1 on Miami is underway, let's work with local businesses. What do they need? What do they need to improve their business by 10% year on year? What can the city do to meet those needs? Let's collect that data. Let's keep what works and stop what doesn't. Here's an example. Let's take a budget surplus and return it to each resident as a voucher to spend in our local businesses. For the current year, a $330,000 surplus becomes a $33 voucher for every resident. That's $132 for a family of 4. Let's get creative. Let's get better. Madeira is a great city. It is our city. It is where I and you choose to raise your family. It can be better. We can work together to make it better. I plan to be your neighbor and your representative, to listen and deliver, to meet your needs and your hopes for a safer and more prosperous future. I ask for your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
Good evening. How's it going? My name is Logan Younger. I'm running to be your next city council representative. I want to start off by just thanking David and the Chamber of Commerce and the Senior Commission for putting this amazing event on. I do have a couple things to disclose to you starting right off the bat. One is that I am actually on the board for the Chamber of Commerce. I'm the secretary of the Chamber of Commerce, but David's done an amazing job partnering with his wife and keeping a firewall between any answers and myself. The other thing to disclose is this is my second time up here during a forum. I ran 2 years ago, got a lot of really amazing feedback, and have doubled down on my investment and my contributions to Madeira. So I'd love to tell you a little bit about what I've been up to. So I've been at Madeira for about 11 years, on and off. So I moved here in 2011, rented for a little while. When we went to buy, we actually couldn't find a house within our budget, so we were forced to move out of the area, but never stopped looking in Madeira, and finally found a home on Mardell that we purchased a few years ago. Ever since I joined the community, I've been invested in giving back. So that includes coaching my son, who is an 8th grader now at the middle school, when he was 3 years old at the high school right behind us, and running around with probably some of your sons or daughters at that moment as well. In addition to coaching soccer, I've also coached basketball and volunteered in our schools. And I believe that the youth are the future of our city, and I'm committed to giving back and supporting our youth and making this a place that they will want to live in for the next 50 years. In addition to that, I'm really involved in city activities. I joined the Parks and Rec Board. Actually, Mr. Henning interviewed me. It was a grueling interview a number of years ago, but I made it on. They let me on the Parks and Rec Board, where I have been able to give back by helping run some of your city events, including the 4th of July celebration previously, and actually building some of your parks. So I actually volunteered and built the new playground up at Selman as well. In addition to that, I'm really invested in our business community, and I understand that they are the heart and soul of our community. They have the ability to bring a community up, as well as deteriorate a community if we don't take care of the businesses that are here, as well as bring in new businesses. So I've joined the Chamber of Commerce initially as a member, was then asked to join the board, and then subsequently asked to serve as the secretary, which I'm currently doing. I bring all these things up not just to brag about what I've been doing and show you that I've been putting in thousands of hours for you, but to demonstrate that I am committed to serving you and to representing all Madeira voices on council. I'm hoping that you vote for me, but I can guarantee you that if I don't make it on this time, I'm going to continue to double down and invest and get involved. And oh, is that it? Oh, sorry. You're not going to get rid of me that easily, that's what I was saying. Is you have the opportunity to vote for me. I think I can represent all Madeira voices on City Council. Beyond my community service, I also have a pretty extensive business background. I've been able to build and scale large and small teams over the last 20 years, managing tens of millions of dollars in annual budgets, managing teams as big as 75 people. So I know how to get things done. I know that when I'm on City Council, I'll just be one voice amongst 7. And the role of a councilman is to collaborate and work with your peers to hopefully get to consensus as often as possible, but come out with a shared vision and voice. My priorities, if elected to City Council, don't stray too far from my experiences. So I'm really invested in ensuring that our parks serve all of our community. I'm excited about the additional 2 acres at McDonald Commons, the 4-season room, and how we can increase the programming to offer year-round services, activities for people of all ages, not just young families, but our retiring citizens, our residents without families. I think there's a huge opportunity there. And then I'm excited to partner and finalize and complete the work on Miami Avenue. Not only is walkability really important to me, but I believe sprucing up the street a little bit will help in our mission to bring in and support our small businesses in this community. So overall, I hope I've shown you why I'm committed and devoted to Madeira. It's not just a place on a map for me. It's the place that we've decided to make our home. We've laid our roots. And I have a ton of respect for the people that have been here for 50 years. And I'm telling you, I'm committed to making this a place where people want to be here for the next 50 years. Thank you.
Mr. Henning.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Tom Henning. I'm running for re-election for Madeira City Council. I too would like to start by thanking the Chamber and the Senior Commission for inviting me here, for hosting this event, and for all you do for the community. I'll start with why I'm running for City Council, why I'm re-running for City Council. I've got 2 reasons, the first of which is the standard and the second of which is the work. The standard, my family has given over 100 years of service back to their schools, their churches, and community, and I'm just trying to live up to that standard. And the second is the work. I love this job. You know, on Fridays we get our council packet, and I get so excited to read it. I'm going to learn something every week, every other week. And that continuous learning, that's a big motivator for this curious engineer. It's an honor and a privilege to work with this team of council members, the administration, all the volunteers in the chamber in service to this community. And the job it's pretty challenging. I mean, I do like taking on new challenges. It's a challenging job in that I've got to bring all of my temperaments, my talents, my convictions to bear as we problem solve and forge the future of Madeira. I'm from Toledo, Ohio, born and raised. Moved down here to Cincinnati about 30 years ago. Got my bachelor's and my master's in engineering. I work at GE Aerospace. I've been there 25 years. I've progressed through multiple leadership roles in engineering and marketing and on to product management. I am married to Betsy Gentili, and we moved back here to her hometown of Madeira, where we're raising a 9-year-old Amazon and a 10-year-old Mustang. I was appointed to Parks and Rec Board in 2018, elected to council 2019. I was the chair of Law and Safety all throughout the pandemic, quite the learning opportunity. I'm the current Budget and Finance Chair during unprecedented cost inflation, also quite the learning opportunity for me. My philosophy is really straightforward. Madeira is worth investing in, and it's council's job to maximize the return on that investment. So I'd just like to talk about a few of the accomplishments we've made while I've been here on council. Get comfortable. We've received $16.5 million in external funding. We're getting our infrastructure maintained and enhanced at a 50% discount, an incredible return. We have a AA+ credit rating for really low interest rates. Madeira is worth investing in. We've paved 21 streets since I got here. We've replaced a number of water mains. We've greatly enhanced the safety of the Euclid-Camargo intersection, shortened that sidewalk. We added a sidewalk all the way up to Hosbrook. Next year, we're going up to Kenwood. We redesigned, and we're nearly complete with McDonald Commons Park. I cannot wait to meet you all there in the spring of 2024. I'm really excited about that project. We've passed 4 budgets, pretty complicated budgets, and they've all been unanimously approved by council vote. We developed a new budget metric to help enable some of those financial decisions. We funded a 15th police officer. We funded an 8th full-time firefighter. Those are priority number 1 for me. We need to make sure our first responders have all the resources they need to do their job for us. We actually hired our new city manager, first one in over 30 years. I mean, big shoes to fill. And I don't know if you've all met or worked with MNS, but he is just knocking it out of the park, in my opinion. We updated the zoning code. We became a Tree City USA. We put in the Storybook Trail. We've had more community events than I've got time to list here. I'm just really proud of all that effort. We are currently investing big time in the business district to enhance economic development. We rebranded the city. We created a DORA. On Friday, we break ground on Miami Avenue, and so Madeira is just worth investing in. I know I'm a bit biased, but that's quite a list. And I think it's indicative of the high-performing team we currently have on council. But I got to stop and take a minute and just thank all the previous council members that came before us and the previous volunteers that came before us to enable all of this success. If I'm reelected, my priorities will remain unwavering. We're going to deliver the services and the infrastructure you all deserve. We're going to do it as efficiently as possible. I'm going to continue my transparent, collaborative leadership style to get that done. There's no substitute for experience in this world. I'm fully accountable for every decision I have made on council. Not one of my decisions had anything to do with this campaign. They all had to do with you and the future of Madeira. That's exactly how I'll lead for the next 4 years. My name is Tom Henning, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Good evening, Madeira. I don't know what hasn't been said at this point, but I'll try. So good evening, and thank you for making time to take part in this candidate forum. And a special thanks to our Madeira Chamber and the Senior Commission for pulling all this together. My name is Chad Schaefer, and I'm running for Madeira City Council because I have a deep-rooted passion for public service, and I possess the leadership skills and experience to be an effective voice for you at City Hall. I have nearly 2 decades of leadership experience in government administration, public policy, and economic development. After earning my master's degree in political studies, I had an opportunity to work in the Illinois General Assembly, where I staffed legislative committees and analyzed budgets for the state Senate. Subsequently, I followed a state senator north, serving as Chief Policy and Strategy Manager for the state's second largest county. In this role, I led major policy initiatives and strategic planning for the county board, working with 12 department heads and 9 countywide elected officials. I oversaw execution of an award-winning government efficiency initiative, which saved taxpayers tens of millions of dollars through implementation of shared services and joint procurement reforms. This efficiency initiative received accolades from major media outlets and the National Association of Counties in the category of government administration and management. For the past 5 years, I've led state government affairs and community relations for Duke Energy in the company's Southwest Ohio service territory. In this capacity, I advance energy infrastructure projects, working with elected officials and other key stakeholders, while also partnering with regional economic development leaders to secure major commercial industrial investments which fuel the growth of Greater Cincinnati. I also volunteer on several regional boards, including service as Vice Chairman of the Claremont Chamber Board of Directors, and service on the boards for the European American Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Centrifuge Syndicate Fund Advisory Board, among others. On the local level, I've had the pleasure of serving on the Madeira City Planning Commission for over 3 years. And Tom, if you think your interview was difficult, I have a few in the audience that might beg to differ with that. As your voice on City Council, I will work to ensure that major investments in McDonald's Commons Park and the Miami Avenue reconstruction are delivered on time and within budget. I'll also work with city leaders to explore responsible restoration of the earnings tax credit and strategic use of our budget surplus to best meet the needs of our community. Leaning on my experience with economic development, I am determined to advance a vibrant central business district that offers more to our residents and helps them support local businesses in a meaningful way. We have tremendous amount of untapped potential in Madeira, and I look forward to helping cultivate new investments into our community. New development not only provides options for our residents, but also helps address the disproportionate tax burden shouldered by our residential property owners. I will also prioritize operational excellence and high-quality public services while making certain that our first responders are provided with the resources and training that they need to keep our community safe. I will approach my service in an open, responsive, and transparent manner, working to unify our community around common sense priorities that advance our quality of life and better connect the community. I am committed to being a voice for all of Madeira and will look for creative ways to engage the community and tap into our rich talent pool to enhance our forward momentum. I'm honored to be supported in my race for City Council by well-respected leaders such as Mayor Chris Hilberg and Vice Mayor Doug Moorman, as well as many council members and former mayors. I'm excited about the opportunity to serve as your next council representative and look forward to the discussions this evening. Thanks for your continued support and trust. Together, let's build an even brighter future for Madeira. Thank you.
Last but not least,
I guess chivalry is dead. Just kidding.
blame the internet.
I'm Gibson Arling. I graduated from Sycamore High School and obtained a BA from Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida. I've lived in Madeira for just over 4 years with my husband and 2 small children who attend Madeira Elementary. I have been successfully selling real estate for over 22 years, and I know that industry backwards and forwards. I believe that my acumen, network, and knowledge of the industry would be pivotal to help council with the vacant real estate that's been sitting around downtown. If elected council, I think I would have some of the youngest children of any of the other council members, although I wouldn't be the youngest council member, giving me a critical voice for voters. My kids are really what motivated me to run. I wanted to set a positive example for them about the importance of civic engagement and the value of making a difference in the community. I'd also love to instill in them the idea that you can be an active and a responsible citizen. As a council person, you can help influence long-term planning and development, which would have a lasting impact on the city where your children are growing up. A big issue for me is fiscal transparency and accountability. We have a large budget with a surplus. I've knocked on a lot of doors the past couple of months, and almost every person that answers, if they have a concern, it's the rate and amount of money that council's been spending recently. And of course, all of our home values are going up due to the reassessment by the auditor. And while Madeira is not responsible for that number, it does equate to a larger amount that Madeira will get back from the county. People are struggling financially right now, and the city could play a big part in easing some of that burden by returning the surplus, raising the earnings tax credit back to 0.9, and getting creative with the money in the budget to replace the Miami Ave water line instead of passing the buck along to the citizens, 60% of them. And obviously, we have all agreed that we need to keep public works and services fully funded and listen and respond quickly to whatever their needs might be. The campaign for us has been about ideas. Some people want to talk about other things. We haven't paid attention to that. We are focused on what is important for you as residents in Madeira and not state or national politics. It's important for me to keep Madeira on its wonderful path forward, and I'd love to bring some common sense ideas to the table. And I'm asking for your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
All right, how about one more round of applause for all of our candidates? I appreciate all the time. I will say within a couple seconds, everyone was in 5 minutes. So the first assignment I gave everybody, you're right on top of it. I appreciate it. Now the fun part. We're going to ask some questions of all of them. Like I mentioned, I will ask the question. They've got the microphones in front of them. We'll go in random order so that everybody has a chance to respond. And hopefully, unlike last time, we don't have too many dittos by the time we get too far down some of the questions. I already have a couple I have to cut because they all answered a couple great things in the stump speeches. So looking forward to that. So our first question, we're going to start with Logan.
Staying here.
There you go. You can say it right there.
All right.
The first question, how do you view the role of city council differing from the role of city administration?
Yeah, great question. So Madeira has a city manager council relationship. So essentially, connecting it back to the corporate world, it's similar to a board of directors and a CEO or executive at a company. So the board of directors sets the vision, approves large budgetary items, annual budgets, personnel hires, but then relies on the city manager and administration to actually execute and work day in and day out. So on Parks and Rec, I've had the opportunity of working with both city council as well as the manager and administrative staff, and I do want to acknowledge the amazing work that those dedicated members of our community do, and to support all the things that go into making Madeira run smoothly.
Perfect. Thank you. Joe Gromes. Let me know if you need the question repeated.
No, I think I got it. Is this projecting? Is this coming across? Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, I think Logan nailed it. I would just add, the city council is primarily to represent you, to listen to you, to respond to your needs. They also pass ordinances and resolutions to make sure that those needs are acted upon. And the city manager is tasked to run the day-to-day operation of Madeira and to make sure those resolutions and ordinances are effectively dealt with. So I primarily see the city council, that distinction. We are there to respond to your needs and make sure they get met or heard.
Mr. Henning.
Thanks. I think they nailed it in terms of the council manager form of government that we have. And if you go into the charter, it doesn't really describe very well exactly the role of council. It leaves it fairly broad so that we can fit the needs of the community however we see fit. But there is a section in there about council interference with the administration. So it definitely does draw the line between who's supposed to do what in the charter. But yeah, completely agree. It's just like a board of directors and a CEO.
Perfect. Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you. So I think I uniquely understand this role and relationship, having worked in government administration at a high level for a county of around 1 million people. So there definitely is a professional relationship. We are a charter community as opposed to a statutory community in Ohio. So there is a professional oversight day to day by our administration. But that said, our board needs to be a great check and balance. We need to have talent from all across our community, people that understand how to read a budget, people that are wise about these affairs. Having served on other boards and commissions in the past, I think that's totally invaluable to the experience of overseeing roughly a $10 million enterprise in terms of our general obligation general fund. So yes, it's definitely an oversight board, but at the end of the day, we represent you, the people of Madeira, and that's why we are at the council meetings, is to make sure that we are all getting value for our tax dollars and that we are making wise decisions for the future of our community. Thank you.
And Ms. Arling, I promise you won't go last all the time.
I don't think there's a lot more I can add to the gentleman's responses. If I were explaining it to a child, I would just say administrative is day-to-day and council is the legislative.
And nothing in the charter that says the city manager needs to be here for 30 plus years, like our former city manager. Next question. I know a lot of you mentioned goals in the stump speeches, but what achievable goal do you have for council, and what's the one main achievable goal you have for council, and why are you the best candidate to achieve it? Mr. Younger, first again.
Great question. So I stood up here 2 years ago and I said that my goal is to build up our business district to such a level that we actually could eliminate the earnings tax. And I think I got a lot of laughs at it and a lot of comments after. So I actually agree with Mr. Gromes that we should set a goal, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, to hit very specific milestones and metrics in terms of the tax revenue that we're getting from an expanded or a developed business district, and then commit to give that money back to citizens once we hit that milestone. What I'm not willing to do is just blindly make a declaration to cut taxes without any idea or plan on how to pay for it. I think that's irresponsible and not a good plan, but I am all for making long-term plans, setting milestones, holding council and the city accountable to that, and then once we hit those metrics, returning the revenue to you and enjoying an amazing and beautiful business district.
Ms. Arling.
Outside of what I mentioned in the opening statements about some of the budget things, I think whether you vote for me or not, if I'm on council, that I would listen to everyone's different opinions and solutions, and try to make it more of communication, a two-way street. I know a lot of people have felt like, sometimes that hasn't been the case with people on council, and I actually personally experienced that myself at the Miami Avenue open house with no one that was in this room, no council members that are here now. So I think that would be one goal, is to try to just open up the communication.
Mr. Gromes.
I'd go back to the first item that I mentioned, the 0.9% credit. The budget is healthy. Our taxes are going up on property taxes. That's a healthy chunk of the income to the city. And we have TIFs that cover our debt obligations. The city is well run. There's no criticism there. I think we're in a good position to flip the switch back, go back to that 0.9%, and write it out. The budget has a buffer of 27%. And not all of our households have 27% budgets, buffers at the end of the year or month to month. So we can even lean into that a little bit, maybe take that buffer down a little bit. But bottom line, flip the switch and put the credit back to 0.9%.
Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you. So everyone's touched on the earnings tax credit, and I agree with that generally. I think we need great data and metrics to be able to drive our decision making, and whether that's a full return immediately or a phased in return, I do think we need to look at that. However, I'm going to touch on another issue, and that is the vibrancy of our downtown and the central business district. I think that needs to be a central focus of what we do on council. I feel that we have lost out to some other communities when you look at Marymount, you look at Milford, some of the investments that are being made, and I think we need to have a real conversation with our community about what we want that to look like. And potentially slight modifications to increase the density there, I think will do wonders for our community, and do it in a uniquely Madeira way, right? We can develop and we can also help grow the pie. Everything that I've heard of that we've been talking about is how we divvy up the pie. Let's talk about growing that pie and how those additional tax revenues put a downward pressure on the taxes that impact all of us. Thank you.
Mr. Henning.
Thank you very much. I would say the goal is to finish this massive infrastructure renewal we're in the middle of right now. Then we will adjust the earnings tax credit back. If you read page 4 of our budget policy that we pass every year, it's right there. This was always in the plan. There's a video out there if you're interested in more data and some details. It's about a 3-minute video. It's on our December 14th, 2020 council meeting. I've got a 3-minute video that explains this adjustment to the earnings tax credit so we can complete this renewal. But the real goal for me is on the other side of this, this backlog of maintenance we've got to complete. We need to put a plan in place that doesn't lead to another spike of maintenance in 25 or 30 years. Somehow we've got to meter this out so that we don't delay, and then have to do all this work at the same time. I think I'm uniquely positioned for this role. I think I've been to 48 budget and finance meetings. I think 26 of them I've led them. And so I think I know how the budget works. I think I know how to get things done. Thank you.
I'm actually going to jump ahead because we've heard a lot about the tax credit. So one of the questions that was coming up later, but I'll just hit it now. So 2018, the voters had actually rejected increasing the income tax from 1% to 1.25%. It was about a 54-46 split vote. As a result, as has been mentioned a couple times, 2020 City Council actually voted 5-2 to decrease the residential tax credit from the 0.9 to what we are at the 0.6. Given the city's current economic position, would you support restoring the credit back to 0.9? Why or why not? Mr. Gromes goes first.
I think it's a ditto. I'll say it for the third time. I think we're in a good position to flip the switch back. The budget is very solid. The city finances are strong, and our property taxes are going up. We've got plenty of room to be creative and perhaps take that buffer down if we need to a little bit. So I think I said it a couple times.
Ms. Arling.
I totally agree with flipping it back to 0.9. Same thing, everything Joe said. We could take the buffer down a little bit, and some things we just might need to pare back on, but everyone's doing that in their own households. So why shouldn't the city budget have to do it also?
Mr. Younger.
Yeah, I generally support that. Like Mr. Schaefer, I think we need more data and metrics around this. For example, I think the world is different today than it was when this was passed, and I think the dynamic and how people work is really different. So I think we need more info on exactly what the impact of rolling this tax credit back will look like. So just some real world examples. So prior to 2020, our family, let's say, paid $1,000 to taxes to Cincinnati because we both worked in Cincinnati. $100 would then go to Madeira. With the rollback, now we would be paying $400 to Madeira in addition to the $1,000. But actually, we both work from home now. So instead, we're paying $1,000 directly to Madeira. So we're actually moving money from one municipality that we don't live in to one that we do live in. And that's really what I understand the large driver of the additional revenue is actually a good thing. It's Cincinnati's getting less of our money and Madeira is getting more of our money. So I'm all for that. I don't think it's going to have a significant impact, but I do want to see the data and understand what the impact is. What are the risks involved as well? specifically to our essential services. It's the largest portion of our budget. So we don't want to be in a position where the dynamic of work changes back to my wife and I all of a sudden commuting into Cincinnati again, and now we have a deficit because we made an adjustment given what may be a temporary work arrangement for a lot of residents.
Thank you. Mr. Shaver.
Thank you. Yes, I generally agree as well. I'll reiterate, I think we need to have good data and information to make those decisions from. I certainly would not want to increase the credit and then realize that we're cost shifting onto the property tax burden, because as I go door to door, I've talked to I've visited over 3,000 residences in Madeira, which is almost all of Madeira, believe it or not. As I do that, I talk to seniors, and many of them are struggling, okay? They're on fixed incomes, and we have some high income earners that are younger people, and that's why we've seen the spike. Not all of it is accounted for by the reduction in the credit. We also have higher income earners that are moving into the community. So I want to laser focus and make sure that we're not doing something that would harm seniors because they don't pay the earnings tax, right? So the last thing we would want to do would be to cost shift onto them. So I think we can do this in a responsible way, but let's let that be driven by the facts and the data.
Right on time. I love it. Mr. Henning.
Yes, thank you. Yep, I'm all for bringing back the earnings tax credit to 0.9. Once we're on the other side of this infrastructure renewal per the plan that we laid out at council, and we pass into policy every year. We need to make sure that we do maintain the buffer. We do have this 27% general fund reserve. We're driven by metrics. And the 27% general fund reserve, in my mind, is sacrosanct. It represents police and fire salaries in the time of crisis. It's our rainy day fund, and it funds operations in case anything should happen to our revenue streams. So in my opinion, we're never going below that. The earnings tax credit from the 0.6 to the 0.9, Finance's latest estimate is at $700,000. Right now, that would take us below 27%, and so it's a no-go in my mind for 2024. We'll take a look at it every year. We look at it every month at Budget and Finance. It is very much one of our options that we're looking at as we review these surpluses. Thank you.
All right, next question, kind of a two-parter. On the topic of funding, since we're there, what do you view as the top funding priorities for the city? And then how would you fund those, knowing that we're kind of having the tax credit discussion? Mr. Gromes, you are first up.
Top funding priorities.
Top funding priorities.
Well, again, to build on Tom Henning's answer there, yes, police, fire, that's the safety. The roughly $5 million commitment out of the budget. So yes, that should be fully funded. Then the general government, of course, that's we talked about MNS and his staff. Very important to make sure the day-to-day operations continue. And then this council has done a great job of, as mentioned, finding financing for the big capital projects, and the fact that our bond that we just issued a year ago is covered by the TIF, so we're in good shape there. So I think it's keep on keeping on there.
Perfect. Mr. Schaefer. What do you view as the top funding priorities for the city, and how would you fund them?
Yeah, so local government, it's not always the most exciting issue, right, but very important issue. So local government really is a series of priorities, right? We have to prioritize the critical services that are provided, our public works infrastructure, right? We have to maintain and we have to plan for that over time to replace that. I think we have to do that in a very thoughtful way. We also have to prioritize our public safety. It's wonderful to do additional projects that enhance our quality of life, but I think we have to do those very thoughtfully and from a base of having very high quality public services for those things that really matter to our residents on a day in and day out basis. To be able to fund those, we have to live within our means. I always say creativity over capital. We don't always need to go to borrowing dollars or raising taxes. I think we need to look at our budget, be creative with it, make sure we're funding top priorities for our local government, and then look at opportunities to continue enhancing our community.
Mr. Henning.
Thank you. The funding priorities for me are comparable to what's been mentioned here. People first, our operations, police, fire, public works, the administration. The second one is maintaining our infrastructure, not letting it reach the breaking point, and that needs to be proactive, regularly scheduled maintenance. For me, I'm pretty conservative. We do have this debt for the park, and yes, a portion of it is funded by the TIF, but portion of it is funded by the general fund over the next 30 years. And so for me, paying down debt is a priority. That is something that, I don't know, I do in my personal life as much as possible, and I kind of bring that same approach to your tax dollars in the general fund. And the next is the enhancement. As Mr. Schaefer mentioned, the next opportunity would be, how do we enhance the community? How do we maintain, reduce risk, but then what are the opportunities that are out there for us to enhance? Because as I mentioned, Madeira is worth investing in.
Mr. Younger.
Yeah, ditto. Police, fire, services. I don't think anyone's arguing to fund any of these. So I'll talk about the remaining budget, right? What do we do with about the 15% of our budget that isn't already allocated to our essential services and infrastructure maintenance? And that's where I really applaud the work of previous councils in really leveraging that money to multiply our dollars. And that comes from requirements in matching city funds to the city, state, county, national grants, so that we get more money back for you and the residents. So I would continue that effort, really multiplying the additional budget that we have to get more money back. The council's done a great job previously, and I would love to contribute to that moving forward.
Ms. Arling.
It's all about been said again. I think the TIF is great, what they did with Swing Line, and if something kind of in that same sense could be used for the lots or the vacant buildings, I don't know if there's could be any incentives for people to sell faster or to work together with the city to help figure out what would be most beneficial to go into those spots. I mean, at some point you're getting to government overreach, telling people who they can sell to and not sell to. I know we don't want another nail salon, but we don't really have the rights to say no to that right now. So just things like that. But absolutely, the first funding is for police and fire.
I know we've got plenty of vacant buildings people would love to see not so vacant, even if they had a nail salon. I'll let you go first on the flip side. What 2 or 3 specific items then would you eliminate from the budget in an effort to save some money?
I think I would have the advisory committees be self-sustaining. I think I would get those off the budget. That's where a lot of people's voices are heard, so those committees and commissions are important. But if they could be self-sustaining, that would be great. What else would I take off the budget? That's really about it. Yeah.
Perfect. Mr. Gromes.
I have to echo Ms. Arling's comments. I think the commissions that are the smallest parts of the budget and the self-funding mechanism, that would be about the only thing that's really worth going after. The rest of the budget is fairly well positioned to cover all of the essentials, and I don't see a need to go after any of that.
Mr. Henning.
This is a tough question. Yeah. Maybe put it in a little bit of context in terms of our budget. I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer yet for what we would ever cut. We recently looked at all the municipalities in the region, ranked them 1 to 36 in terms of who has the highest tax rate and who has the lowest tax rate. 1 to 36, Madeira came in at 29. And we are incredibly efficient at having a very low tax rate and delivering huge value. And I would say maybe during the last recession, maybe during 2008, 2009, we cut a lot of positions from our administration. And we really asked our administration to do a lot. I mean, our administration runs very, very lean. And we're actually trying to find ways to alleviate that burden, to give them the resources they need to deliver the services that you deserve. So at this point, I would say we couldn't cut any more. We really looked at that hard when we looked at the earnings tax. I would say the only service that we've discussed ever changing is the garbage collection.
Mr. Younger.
Well, I'm not cutting Parks and Rec, so I know a lot of people enjoy the events and all the activities that we provide, and we do it at a really great value, relying almost entirely on volunteer hours. I know I've personally invested thousands of hours running these events. But back to your question, a great man once said, "Credit is due to those in the arena," and he was talking about us, but actually I think of that towards the people that are actually in council. So I have a ton of credit for them. I tend to side with Henning. I'm really impressed by the fiscal prudence that they demonstrate. We don't spend money where we don't need to. We balance a budget every year. We maintain a 27% surplus. So there really isn't anything that I'm thinking of that I would cut. And I applaud and trust the current council members, and looking forward to working with them in the future.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yeah, so I think about this a little bit differently. It's not always expenditures that you cut, but in this case, it could be revenue, back to the earnings tax, right? I think we can look at responsibly phasing the increase out. Again, that's got to be data and metrics driven. I also think that we could look at some of our larger projects and the way that we approach those going forward. I think the current council has been fiscally responsible. We are a very healthy financial community, and that's a testament to the council, the mayor, but also a lot of previous councils as well. We're blessed to live in this community that has great leadership. But I look forward to looking at future projects and really making sure that we do a pay-as-you-go approach. I'd really like to not take out more debt, just like we would at our own homes. We have to make a budget, and we have to ideally not have a lot of debt. So on the future basis, I'd really like to see us have projects that are paid for. We do have grants and revenue that way, and the city's done a great job, but I think we can enhance that even further.
Perfect. Thank you. Kind of on the topic of finances, it's been mentioned, obviously, the economy and a couple of things with the earning tax. On a little different shift, this is a little long one, so I might have to repeat it a few times. But affordability is obviously a concern for many in Madeira, including our elderly neighbors and working poor. I know there's been some discussions behind the scenes in the past about possibly selling Madeira's mobile home park, which I know wouldn't be a council decision, but that would lead to some less affordable housing. Because many of these groups rent or do rely on retirement income, that earnings tax adjustment really doesn't help them. So how would you address those kind of rising housing affordability issues that we're seeing in Madeira? Mr. Gromes.
Please repeat.
Knowing that affordability for the elderly and working poor may be a concern, specifically groups that maybe aren't going to be impacted by the income tax credit going up, down, staying the same. How do you address that housing affordability? How would you help those Madeira residents?
So it's residents that already live here, or people?
Residents that do live here, yes, yes. So obviously we have the income tax, there's an opportunity there,
I'm still trying to
but
understand the exact problem that they have.
affordability in
question.
general. So housing prices going up, inflation's up. How do we help them with the rising cost of everything else, knowing that they might not be impacted by the income tax?
Wow, that's a hard one. I have to admit, I don't have that in my platform or on my line of sight. I can only echo what's in motion at the State House. There's some efforts to 70-70 efforts for folks that are in those kinds of positions. I know council has talked about that. I would certainly, if council has to engage in that, I would certainly support that kind of effort.
Mr. Schaefer.
Hello? Okay, there we go. It's a great question. As I referenced earlier, talking to people in the community, especially senior citizens and on fixed incomes, some are struggling to stay in our community, and through no fault of their own, being here for 40+ years, buying a house that may have been $60,000 and now worth $400,000, right? It's a major problem. We do have legislation at the state level, which is looking to address this. I think we can be supportive in that way. This is kind of in my wheelhouse with the legislative initiatives. I'd love to see us, work with our state senators, our state representatives, and just voice our support for some of those. But look at them, look at each bill independently, and make sure that there's not a negative impact to our community as well. Another thing we could do is look at the existing surplus, and if there's some opportunities to provide senior support with those dollars. I think a lot of it in our community would support helping some of our seniors in that way, see if we can help them stay in their homes and stay with their kids and grandchildren in Madeira.
Mr. Henning.
Yes, thanks. Agree. Great question. I agree that we should certainly support House Bill 263. That's a homestead exemption for folks over 70 and less than $70,000 of income. I know we've mentioned the water use fees on the Indian Hill side. I think maybe we could approach Indian Hill and perhaps ask them to reduce the minimum. Indian Hill charges a minimum water usage. Even if you're not using that much, you have to pay that much. And maybe we can approach them and see if there's some partnership there, some opportunity to reduce the burden on fixed income folks.
Mr. Younger.
Yeah, great question. I've come across this as well out on the streets and talking to neighbors, and I understand people make great sacrifices to not only move here, but then to stay here once their kids may move off and they retire. So this is something that I've thought about and I've talked about with residents. I think the way that I would approach it is you look at the entire makeup of home economics, right? And it's not just income taxes and it's not just property taxes, but utility prices are going through the roof. I think my Duke bill went up about 30% just in the last month. So I think there are things that the city can do. The city actually looked at this a couple of years ago and entering a consolidated energy agreement that if actually was in place right now, we'd be paying about half of what we are on per kilowatt hour. And I think that would go a long way for our retired community as well as our community that is making sacrifices to live here, to get their kids into amazing schools here. And we do deserve to partner with them, try to figure out how to make it easier.
Ms. Arling.
All great ideas. If we're speaking about the value of the homes, in reality, there's nothing that we can do. We can't change what it's assessed at. We can offer these things everyone's talked about to help ease their burden, but nothing can be done about the house values, unfortunately. In the past, the assessments have always been 10 to 25% under market value, which was great for everybody. And with this new assessment, the values are actually at market value, which is pretty unheard of in Cincinnati.
Perfect, thank you. Waterline was mentioned. The Miami project, we had a couple questions on that. So the Miami Ave project obviously created the need for some waterline upgrades, resulting in an increase in the surcharge the city passed on to Indian Hill Waterworks customers. Do you believe this was a fair approach to funding this project? Why or why not? And Ms. Arling.
I don't. Part of the fact is the line is owned by Madeira, so 100% of us own the water line, but only 60% of us are going to be paying the surcharge. And I also feel like the project should have been pared down and money taken from another part of the project that could be done at a later time and put towards the water line so that the buck wasn't passed on to the citizens.
Mr. Younger.
Yeah, I'll reference that credit goes to those in the arena again. I don't know how I would have proceeded if I was in the arena. I do know that some questions that I probably would have had weren't asked, and that was what's the option of not doing anything. And I know a lot of people are like, why would we not repair a 100-year-old sewer line or a water line when we have the street torn up? And from my understanding, that's because of the terms of the agreement that we have actually with Indian Hill. Is it would be Indian Hill's responsibility to do regular maintenance, and actually they likely should be incentivized to help us repair that. So if we kept an old water line and it broke down, cracked every few months, it would be a pain for us, pain for residents. But my understanding is that the bill would go to Indian Hill, and now we're actually stepping up and we're paying for the full water line. We're doing them a huge service because they're off the hook on replacing that. So I would have investigated that and see if we could negotiate that with Indian Hill.
Mr. Henning.
Thank you. Yes, this is one of the most difficult decisions we've made on council in my term here. Maybe some context, if you're interested, go to the 40 or 50-minute mark of the July 24th council meeting and check it out. Really great background there. But since about the 1980s, the Cincinnati Waterworks customers have been paying 25%. So for 40 years, they've been paying 25% surcharge. The Indian Hill side has only been paying 25% since 2013. And so now the pipes are coming to be replaced, and there just isn't that reserve. So we were faced with the decision to have someone pay more than their fair share, or to have the Indian Hill customers pay their fair share, their use fee for the water that they're using. And so I chose not to have people pay more than their fair share. We just got to pay for the things that we want, and I want clean, safe drinking water. I raise my own surcharge to make that happen. But to me, it's just un-American to ask someone to pay more than their fair share for water they're not even using.
Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you. So I think with this issue, we have to understand that it's owned by the city of Madeira. And I understand, council had great discussions on this, by the way. I think everybody made really thoughtful suggestions. There was a lot of really great debate. What I am concerned about is rate shock, right? When rates go up, and our senior citizens get hit by this as well directly with water cost. I would like to see us look at opportunities to socialize those costs across a wider base so it doesn't impact those who might be the most vulnerable in our community. I do realize that you have to pay for infrastructure, but I think we could do longer term planning. I know when I worked in local government, we did rate studies quite often to see, what is the timing of these replacements? How do we phase them in over time? How do we do an increase every 2 to 3 years, which might be a smaller, more gradual increase so that we don't get rate shock when the rates go up so high. So I'd really like to see us just give some more thought to this. I think everyone made the best decision they could, and nobody was trying to do anything harmful, but I think we could probably do some more due diligence on it.
I just tell my 10-year-old to take less shorter showers. Good luck with that. On the Miami Ave, so it was mentioned we've got a groundbreaking on Friday. Construction will start in about a week from today. So many residents, a couple residents have had obviously concerns about the plan overall. In your view, is this project overall a positive or a negative for Madeira, and why? Ms. Arling.
Did you want me to
Oh, did I
address
skip
the other
you?
one?
I'm so
I
sorry.
could, that's okay.
No, I do want you. Yes.
I would build on my creative sentences that I was saying in the speech, in the opening remarks. And these are tough decisions because it's 100% owned by Madeira and it's Indian Hill Water. You've got to find a vehicle for a 30-year note. It's a 30-year loan without and you've got to find something that's reliable. I would look to be creative, and some of the candidates have talked about the need for data and metrics in the budget to look at it. I think the upticks in the property taxes, the delta there that we're going to see next year, could provide a vehicle. The TIFs could also have some margin to be assigned to that have that stability. So I'd say I'd look to be creative there and see if 100% of Madeira could own that loan for that water main.
Thank you, and my apologies.
That's okay. I was trying to make sure I was paying attention.
Yeah, you're good. Good job. So the next question, yes, Ms. Arling, do you need me to repeat that? So Miami Ave reconstruction is scheduled to begin next week. We've got the groundbreaking on Friday. For residents that have concerns about the plan, in your view, overall, project is a positive or a negative for Madeira, and why?
I think it's absolutely a positive. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to enhance how downtown looks. I think the trees that are being added in are great, and the utilities going underground is going to look really nice. And anything that will help bring in more revenue to our businesses down there. in the long run is good. The only negative I've heard multiple times is that people are worried the street calming is going to be too calming because cars are already backed up on Miami at rush hour. But I think it's great beside that.
Mr. Henning.
Thank you very much. I think it's a huge positive. I think, as I've said 10 times tonight, Madeira is worth investing in. And the reason why we say that is so that other people see that Madeira is worth investing in. And then we get something called economic development. And the smaller businesses come, they move in, and they broaden our tax base. I think it's been mentioned, it's going to be just a beautiful streetscape. It is going to be the heart of our downtown. And I think we're going to see some great economic development as a result. And one of the best things I like about the project is the improved safety. At some of the intersections, they're a bit odd, obstructed, and so it's going to be much better safety. We definitely have concerns over traffic flow. I think that's been raised a number of times. I think our current level of service is a level D, but with the turn lane down the middle and the other lanes at 25 miles an hour, it just flows. You know, go drive down Fairfax or Worcester Pike, and it's almost the exact same thing. Traffic just moves, and that's what we want. Slow, steady flow right through the heart of Madeira and having people stop and supporting our businesses.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes, so if anybody has ever driven Miami and Euclid and understands that intersection, you understand that changes are needed. So I think the council made a wise decision here, most importantly for safety and striping of the lanes. I think that's going to make significant improvements to our downtown. The undergrounding of utilities is more cosmetic, but I'd like to see a follow-up effort to make sure that we're focused on economic development. We're not just doing this, you know, to have a beautiful downtown. We want a beautiful downtown that's that it has a vitality, right? That is energized and that is moving somewhere. And we are growing and creating and cultivating something special, uniquely Madeira. Let's do it on our own way as our community. Right now, you go to Montgomery, you go to Marymount, you can uniquely know that you're there. Let's do something special here. Let's create something special, work with our businesses, work with all of our partners, the chamber, and make our community even better.
Mr. Younger.
Yeah, I'm supportive of it as well. I think aesthetically, it's our main street is in need of a little sprucing up, but I also am really excited about the function and the additional walkability, safety aspects of it. I think what I'm looking forward to once I'm on council is having a conversation with residents on the so what. As was referenced here, there are lots of benefits that our community will see from this. And it's been so long since a long time ago when we did the input sessions and we got all the community feedback, and then we kind of went into planning and raising funds and now building. And I think it's time to go back into community engagement and really get the community excited about the so what on this project and what it means for residents that want to have walkable and safe streets for them and their kids, as well as businesses that want to thrive and survive here and relocate here. At Madeira. So I'm excited to focus on the so what, but I'm a big fan of the Miami Avenue project.
And it's 2 for 2 right on time. Mr. Gromes.
I think it's another example of the comprehensive plan in motion. I think it's a great example. The traffic flow, we're only going to have to experience it to, and see what happens. But I do agree that it's likely to work. So what's next? I think it offers us to be creative. I think this is just a great stake in the ground to drive creativity, to let the Chamber of Commerce leverage this throughout the business community. I think it's great to pull all of us in together to experience it. I look forward to being creative for phase 2. I think that's the opportunity there. So phase 1 is going to be this Friday, starting in the Dias cast, and let's rally behind it.
It's finally here. It feels like we've been talking about it for years. A couple people have mentioned comp plans, so we'll kind of pivot there. What is your top priority or focus from the 2023 comprehensive plan update that was recently completed? Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you so much. So I'm happy I received this question first. So I've served on the Planning Commission for 3.5 years. I think it's just very exciting what we're doing in the community. It's been a pleasure to advise council on really a blueprint for how the community moves forward. And I think active transportation and connectivity between our parks, our downtown, our areas of commerce is going to be absolutely critical for this community to grow and thrive and to attract additional investment. Also, some of the visioning sessions that have happened and the recently updated comprehensive plan, some of the plans for expanded trail access. I know we're looking at opportunities to connect into the Crown network, also potentially in the future into Loveland as well. I think that will be such a quality of life enhancement for this community. Love to see everybody rallying behind these items. I think in the first comp plan, where something like 90% of those items have now been executed on, which is fantastic. And now we're moving to Comp Plan 2.0 and really exciting things to come.
Ms. Arling.
Everything that Chad mentioned is great. I think the Dawson Promenade sounds really exciting, and the things that they possibly were going to do with Railroad Alley to have more of a central meeting space for everybody was really exciting. It's not the best looking down there right now, so that would be great if we could do something with that. And like I mentioned, I'm really excited about the utilities going underground. I think that's going to be great. Thank you.
Railroad made for a great door event all summer long.
Yeah.
Mr. Henning.
Thank you very much, and I don't know that I can pick one. I can't speak enough about this document and just how much I enjoy reading it, thinking about how we can tackle all these. If I were forced into picking one or two today, I would probably say the Camargo Road streetscape. Again, that's got an element of economic development included there. The sidewalks, the trail, and probably stormwater management. I know stormwater management is probably not too exciting, but I've learned a lot in my time on council, and stormwater is incredibly important. We definitely need to invest in it. So I'm really glad that the Planning Commission brought us this comprehensive plan update and then outlined these priorities, which don't have a lot of spending in 2024, which we really appreciated with our infrastructure spend in 2024.
Mr. Gromes.
I'd echo it again. Great plan. I'd lean into the economic development. Right now, the income taxes, the majority comes from residents and not from business. And this comprehensive plan gives us a chance to flip that. Perhaps go to 60% of that income tax coming solely from business and get on a downward glide where the residents part of the income tax is lightened, and maybe go for 70%. So economic development, I'd look at every option to leverage what's happening on Miami Avenue and then all the other factors of economic development that are outlined in the plan, because I think if we can flip that and get Madeira reliably acquiring a healthy revenue from the business district, I think that's going to be good for all of us.
Mr. Younger.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really great things in the comp plan. Thank you. All right, it's been a long day. A lot of great things in the comp plan. What I would look towards are the things that our community, our citizens told us that they want the most. And during St. Nick Night last year, I actually had the opportunity of passing out comp plan surveys to hundreds of residents and collected tons of feedback. And about 60% of the residents said that they are interested in improving the walkability and the sidewalks within our community. So I think there's a lot of that integrated into the comp plan. Some of it's been referenced by opening up our trails. We own a big piece of property off of Camargo that there may be the opportunity to get public access to, potentially connect it to the bike trail. I'm really excited about McDonald Commons and figuring out how can we use that as a gateway to the Kenwood Hills side of Madeira and make it easier for our residents to connect and walk and bike and get places without a car.
So it's almost like you were reading my mind. The next question is that one of the priorities in the updated comprehensive plan is tied to making Madeira more walkable. Would you support using city funds to add or update sidewalks when streets are being repaved, similar to what's being done in nearby Montgomery? And I'll let Logan kick us off with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I would support it in the context if we're able to get multiplied dollars. So I think the city's done a great job of being able to leverage dollars, getting dollar for dollar, dollar for $2 sometimes on match funds. So I would investigate that. I'm a big supporter of the Safe Walks to School program. Having walked a large portion of Madeira during this campaign, you realize how treacherous some of the areas can be for our residents and for our kids. So I think that it is a priority. I would definitely love to look at that and work with council on a funding source for that. But in general, I'm a fan of funding that provides us a multiplier of our investment.
Mr. Henning.
I'm a huge yes on the sidewalks. We've got a sidewalk master plan from 2005, 2006 timeframe that we're still trying to complete. We got some of it done on Euclid recently. We're going to get more of it done on Euclid. We've got to turn our sights now to Camargo and get a sidewalk there. I think as part of the roundabout that's going in Montgomery or on Miami and Galbraith, we're going to add some sidewalk there to connect the neighborhood to the other sidewalks. I am 100% in favor of using city funds to complete the sidewalk master plan. I think we need to look at the other options for sidewalks in neighborhoods, like the Safe Routes to School, the other funding that's available. I think if there are shortfalls there, certainly the city could provide some funding there. If the residents want a sidewalk in their neighborhood, you know, that's first and foremost. It's got to be wanted by the majority of the folks in the residents, in the residential area. But yes, big fan of sidewalks.
Mr. Gromes.
Yeah, I can only piggyback on what Mr. Henning, what Tom said. It's part of what makes Madeira great. We walk the neighborhoods as often as we can, and yeah, fully support that. And the devil's always in the details, including, as you mentioned, you know, do the folks really want it or not? But yeah, in general, a vibrant yes to that, and then just be diligent in the details of the budget and get ahead of it as often as we can. Getting the comprehensive plan helps us in that.
Ms. Arling.
This is actually a very sore subject for me.
Knowing where you live, I had a feeling.
So a neighbor of mine and myself went on a crusade to get a sidewalk on our street. I think that was about a year ago or a year and a half ago. We got all the petitions signed, sent them in. I actually made signs that I put up and down the street because it was going to a vote, which is how democracy works, and it should, because we were going to have to pay for it. And it did fail, but I was really disheartened by the process that we went through, and potentially we kind of got caught up in the changeover of the city manager. So that kind of screwed us up, but something that I think would be really helpful for citizens if there was, we just went at this blindly, but if somebody could help guide people who try to do what we did, getting the petition signed, getting the paperwork in, getting the letters out, somebody could help guide people through that, I think that that would be awesome for the community. But yes to all sidewalks.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes, I think this is 2023, last time I checked, so I feel like we should be on the sidewalk discussion. But yes, let's address it. You know, it's been a topic that I think I've talked to a number of people about at their doors, especially in some of our main thoroughfares. So I think with anything, there's a lot of miles of sidewalk out there, right, that would have to be put in, and we have to pay for it somehow, right? So let's first start with the master plan. Let's look and prioritize and rank and prioritize. Where are those main arteries? What areas actually give us the best opportunity to apply for grants? Are there public safety access? Are there school route accesses? Let's get real strategic about this. We've done a great job of getting grants at the city. I think we could ramp that up and look for opportunities. Usually you don't find a sidewalk grant, right? It has to be something that is about safety. And safety of our community should be paramount. And I know it is with our law enforcement. If there are safety issues, we should be addressing that. So looking forward to the sidewalk master plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Our Madeira Pride Picnic is extremely important to many in the community. If elected, would you commit to continuing City Council's support of this event? Mr. Henning.
100% support the Pride Picnic. I was part of the Law and Safety Committee that came up with the Inclusion Committee, that recommended the Inclusion Committee to council, and all of council brought the Inclusion Committee to us. And you know, our family has gone to the Pride Picnic a number of times, and we have a great time. We're looking forward to the next one, and so yes, the Pride Picnic is 100% supported by us.
Mr. Younger.
Yeah, plus one to that, I'm a big fan of the Pride Picnic. Not because like Madeira needs additional events, and there's a big Pride event downtown, but on Parks and Rec, one of the goals that we have that we still haven't figured out is how do we get more teens involved in community activities. And I still remember the first Pride Picnic I went to, how many of our youth, kids that completely disappear from some of our other events were actually out having fun, I think throwing water balloons at the mayor at that point. So anything that engages our teens, our youth, I'm a big fan of. So yeah, I would keep it.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes, so I think we have to first of all recognize that we have a diverse community and it's growing more diverse, and we all have to have that as a recognition. I think we have to make sure that all of our commissions are operating in a fiscally responsible way, and I think the Madeira Inclusion Committee has also really tried to do that. I'll give them credit for going out to businesses, even for the Light Up Madeira that is coming up in December. They have really made a genuine effort to secure sponsorships, and that's private sponsorships, right? And I think they're really kind of showing an example to some of the other commissions on ways that you can leverage private dollars to have these events. Same with the Pride Picnic. Absolutely, I think it's something that a lot of people in this community have been to, have attended. Certainly they want to see that keep going, and so if we can leverage private businesses, both for all of our commissions, really, I think you can keep that tradition going for Madeira residents.
Ms. Arling.
I'm not sure what my answer is to that. I think at its core, I guess, pride is celebrating one's sexuality. And I don't know that I think government should be involved with people's sexuality. So I'm not saying I want to get rid of the Pride Picnic, but I don't think that City Council or the City of Madeira should be involved in something like that.
Mr. Groves.
I have no issue with folks wanting a Pride picnic. I have issue with the city money supporting a Pride picnic. I have no issue with the city providing the facilities for a Pride picnic, but again, I have an issue with city dollars supporting a Pride picnic.
Thank you. We're right at 8:27. I'm going to end it on a very simple, very easy question. And let's see who gets to go first. Mr. Gromes, you get to go first. What is your favorite restaurant for Cincinnati chili? It was, in fact, a member-submitted question. You do not have to answer a Madeira restaurant. That's not a test question.
For Cincinnati chili.
Specifically for Cincinnati chili.
Well, for us, it's Kenwood Skyline. That's where we hit when we come back home, and we know that we're back home because we're getting Skyline chili. Is there a
Mr.
follow-up
Schaefer,
question?
no, that's all. That's all we need. Mr. Schaefer.
That's a great question. So I'm actually going to let my son answer that. Mason, where do we go?
Miss Arling.
Skyline.
All right. Mr. Younger.
I think I'm about to lose the election. No, I've got data around this. So actually, I've done a study on this for a while. Whenever executives would come in to visit from out of town, we would do a blind Skyline Gold Star taste test. And without doubt, people from out of town are more familiar with the Gold Star flavor. People from Cincinnati are more familiar with the unique Skyline flavor. I'm a Gold Star fan. It helped that my last house was within driving distance to a drive-through Gold Star, so I'm a big supporter of that. I want to take 2 more seconds. I forgot to mention at the beginning of tonight, my amazing wife, who I do want to also get to thank. Today we're celebrating 20 years together, and we're choosing to spend it with you all. I meant to call that out at the beginning. She made it through the last election. We're going to make it through this one, and looking forward to the next 20.
Or the next one. Mr. Henning.
Skyline.
All right, simple answer. All right. With that, we're going to conclude our 2023 Madeira City Council Candidate Forum. I did want to make one more announcement I forgot to mention at the beginning. As many of you know, we have a school board race going on as well. We do have some folks that are coordinating an event for this Sunday. There is some paperwork in the back. The website that you use to register for today, once I get home and I can change the address to the school board event, you'll be able to RSVP to that on Sunday. So that's going to be Sunday, 5 p.m. at the Madeira Swim Club. So look for some more information about that. Coming together super last minute, but we're excited to have that going on as well. So I want to let people know about that. Thank you again to all of our candidates tonight.